welcome. It's middle of winter MicroPython Meetup. I hope you all stay warm. We're also meant to get a heater switched on here someplace. As soon as we can get that done, we will. Moving straight along to the useful links, they're the same as always. Keep them handy because they're useful. Sponsor MicroPython if you can or if you want to. The agenda tonight is that I'm going to rattle on about some of the news items. I've just done a little mini presentation talking about how to do unit testing in MicroPython. This was something I had to do recently, and I thought it was worthwhile talking about some of the difficulties and the ways you can work around them. So it's like a 5-slide presentation I got for that as well. I've also got something in the bag which is not quite ready, so I probably won't show this one, but talking about getting a library from CPython and MicroPython. Might drop off until next month, but if you're looking to do that kind of stuff, come talk to me perhaps. If you manage to get it working while Damien's talking, then maybe we'll give a quick demo later. But, so that's a nice little segue because Damien's going to be talking about the brand spanking new 1.16 release, which we've already covered a little bit in the past couple of months, some of the features, but yeah, Damien will put a bow on that. Season of Docs updates. So we've been working with Nitty. Damien and I have been meeting with her on Thursdays. She's making progress. She's quite a recent engineer grad, so or not a grad, she's still a student, and so she's coming to grips with learning how to use Git. It's all happening. Yes. So she's had a bit of a steep learning curve at the start, but she's starting to make progress now on the RP2 quick ref. So that's good. That's coming along. Please take a look at her PR. Love to get some feedback on that. It's all good. My new hardware, and surprisingly and shockingly, I actually haven't got anything this last month, which I think is the first time I've been able to say that for the last year. It's a good thing because I've got so much hardware and I've just not had enough time to work on enough of it, so it's good to actually just sit down and play with some of it. In terms of the porting effort, there's not been a lot this month. I know Peter's SAMD ticket is still open. The 1.16 release had to take priority there. So they're still there. The L1 port was working well enough for the guy who driving that, but that's still on my agenda to try to make a little bit more progress on that. I also looked into the TI port, which is floating around somewhere last month, and found it was a pretty quirky implementation of MicroPython. Got more details on that, but it's the kind of thing that with a little bit more effort would actually be pretty useful. Fair to say, because it had pin support, it had stuff. Yeah, right. So I haven't even looked at the Artemis or the G4 port, but we might even get to that tonight. But look, if anyone wants to help with any of these porting efforts, I'm happy to give you hardware because I've got, as you can see, I've got too much of it. So any help would be greatly appreciated. I'm happy to sort of point you in the right direction too. Okay, so on a random note, DIY pulse oximeter. I found this where someone had looked into this, suspect it was in India, I think, because COVID's been going rough there and they were looking for a quick solution. Finding it really difficult to get good pulse oximeters, so they built one. They're using MicroPython, they're using a Max, what's that brand? Maxim? Max, what is it, 3100. I haven't heard of this one before, but it's a full-blown sort of system on chip to do pulse oximetry as well as heart rate, I2C connection. They've got an OLED there as well, the I2C connection, and then they just put it all together with MicroPython. It came together pretty quickly. You can sort of see there's literally on the back of that board there's a peg that they've glued together, so it pegs onto a finger like a regular pulse oximeter would. But apparently it's getting pretty good results, pretty accurate results. They're getting PC boards manufactured now, so looking forward to seeing the version 2 of that. They've been pretty open with all of the board design, all the schematics and all that, and the software, so check out if that's of interest. Gartner, now this kind of did the rounds around the Adafruit newsletter and stuff. I don't know if you can see that chart it's an awfully, it's kind of obscure. It's one of these things that the likes of Gartner will put together, talking about the hype cycle for embedded. But the nice thing here is that MicroPython's actually appearing on it. So it's sort of on the radar of these kinds of research groups now. So what it's showing is that we're literally, these are the words they've chosen, right? Out of the trough of disillusionment into the slope of enlightenment, where MicroPython's sitting at the moment. If anyone knows what that actually means, please come and enlighten me. But it's interesting having a look at the other technologies that are sort of in these cycles and these phases. So, but as I said, it's good that it's on there. Well, who knows? I think Dad's mentioned here that people have inflated expectations.
Yeah. New and exciting, give it a try, and then you realise it's really hard.
But it's risky. Very well. Don't know if it's actually going to do anything useful. Meant to be time? Yeah. It's look. Yeah. 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 Yeah, so a lot of the technologies back here sort of show promise, but they may or may not go away. Looks like that they're predicting the MicroPython is here to stay, at least in this space.
It's doing better than Bluetooth 5.1, so.
Yeah. I don't want to read into this too much, but I'm encouraged that it's sort of on their radar. It's the thing that I took away from this. The Inkplate. So you guys might remember I've had an Inkplate for a little while. I got one of the beta versions. They're selling these on Crowd Supply, and now I think they're on Mouse and a few other places. They're recycled Kindle displays with ESP32 driving them. But they've added a couple more to the family. So there's a 10-inch model now, which is basically the same as this, which is no side lighting, I guess they call them, or front lighting. And then there's a very new one, which is the 6 Plus, which is the newer Kindle display over this one. Slightly higher resolution, front lit, so you can read it at night. And it's got a 2-point touchscreen on the new one as well. So, and they're in the mid-$100. This is about 100 US, 140 for the 10-inch model, and 160 for the 6 Plus with the fancy touchscreen and lighting. And if you're wondering about the specs, the nice thing is it's supported for Arduino, ESP-IDF, and MicroPython. So Forceman's done some work with that. He's put together some libraries to support rendering on the link. It's also got like a UART protocol, so you can drop some pre-built firmware out of the ESP32, and you can control this from another micro over UART with this sort of language that they've built up. So you can say render a circle here, render a rectangle there. Might be interesting for some people. The specs are here, so you can have a look at them and compare them. What you might want. The NeoPil. So this is kind of interesting because I've been working with NeoPixels a little bit in the past. Someone's taken an STM32 blue pill, which is a super cheap F1s, I want to say. Is anyone want to correct? I'm going to go with F1. Yeah, 103s. Super cheap, a couple of dollars literally for these micro boards. And what they've done is they've put sort of a decoder on these things, so you can connect your NeoPixel line to your NeoPixels and match it also onto this blue pill, and then it can decode what the colors you're intending to send out, and they can route that back to a PC. And then there's some software on the PC which also displays them. So meant to be useful for debugging because they can check the timing's correct, and you can also check that you don't have to have your NeoPixels all there. You can render it straight onto the screen. Quite cute. Yeah.
Send that out the Unix port straight into that code.
Yep. Python packaging, there's a couple of good articles about how to do that, sort of modern techniques. One of them's using poetry, one of them's using a whole bunch of tools to do interactions with CI tasks. There's also a pretty useful discussion on Hacker News about the second one, in particular about all the different tools that are being used and the pros and cons of that. So I mentioned this because many of us do this kind of thing. I'm doing a little bit of Damien's thunder here, but Ethernet for ESP32s back in 116, as I understand. And Patrick, I'm going to mess up your name, sorry, Patrick, Van Nistelrooy, who released the WESP32, which was a board I really loved. It's one of the boards that's touring around the train in Melbourne still, probably. But he was excited because that feature is obviously important for his board. And it's now back, which is good. It was out for a couple of years, 114. Yeah, it's working again now. These WESP boards are pretty nice. If you need Ethernet with your ESP32s, they're 70 US on that's fine. Yeah, they've got a really interesting debugging method as well as a separate chip that you can just jam into some offset holes on the board. Yeah, we'll talk about that later if you're interested in that board. OpenMV last month we talked a little bit about their pure thermal beastly board and that they've been updating the firmware. Pretty cool though is they've been talking about some of the performance improvements. They've been talking about the details of it. So that, this is particularly around the Cortex M7 or the STM32H7 chip that they use in this board. They're going into quite a lot of detail, particularly around like DNA access and that kind of stuff. So quite complex on these chips these days. So it's pretty good they've been publishing that information. InfoStack haven't released a dozen things that they sometimes do, but this one's kind of interesting. It's a NB-IoT add-on. I think they're pretty cheap, 37 US, and it comes with the ESP32 to drive it as well. Crazy cheap. I thought this was pretty cool. Someone's put together like a little game running on the ArduPi, which is that MicroPython variant that uses the Arduino API to provide the hardware layer. This runs on WIO terminal from Seed Studios. And so someone's actually recorded like a half-hour video about how to write this game, how to do object collisions and that kind of stuff. And then there's a MicroPython file. It's a single 360-line main.py that you can just drop onto the board and away you go. It's pretty cute. And it's like a Invaders claim. I think it's called Invaders. Puck on the Line, I mentioned last month that there were proposals. I didn't get one in. I got close, but I just didn't have the time at the time. So I don't know if anyone's got any MicroPython proposals in, but if so, I'll let you guys know. There was a competition by Rode. So for anyone who was looking to start a podcast, which I've been thinking about to do some of this new stuff with MicroPython. So Rode, Australian company, I think, yeah. Australian sort of success stories, as I understand, like they do audio equipment, really nice microphones, that kind of stuff. They were publishing this competition where you could win audio equipment to record a podcast with. So we've got a couple of judges, and you can submit you just have to submit like a 1 or 2 minute sort of teaser, which I did this morning, which was the last day of submission. I did it with about a minute to spare, which was great. Just to keep up with tradition, I suppose. Go vote for it if you like it. It would be about MicroPython if we were to get this off the ground. Probably some of this kind of new stuff. And there's a People's Choice Award, so it is useful to vote for it. So I'll share around the link perhaps on site. Miguel Grinberg, who does the MicroPython web server. He also did the Flask mega tutorial. Probably better name for that. This sort of did the rounds a month or so ago, where he's got a Raspberry Pi Pico and a button, and you can just slap the button to mute or unmute your, I think it was for Zoom, or I think it was tied to Zoom, or maybe it was tied to the audio mute or not. Sorry? Well, you could, yeah. It was more of a prefix concept, but he had a really good write-up about how to write it all. And right from a beginner level, which was nice. But he ended up using CircuitPython, which I think he was a bit disappointed about, because we don't have the HID support, which is coming at some point. PyArtos was a real-time operating system written in Python, targeting originally CircuitPython, but it also supports MicroPython now. Basically duplicates a lot of the concepts in FreeRTOS. So if you've used FreeRTOS, it has the concept of queues and blocks and that sort of thing. I'm not sure what they want to use it for apart from education, which has been a stated goal. But yeah, if you're interested in that kind of thing, take a look. A racing area, that's an interesting question. Probably not much. I mean, I don't see any real purpose for it because you're operating at a pretty high level, and why? Yeah. But in terms of education, it would be free artos if you play with it. Like it's quite good, but it's also hard to get in, and play with it and learn about how to use it properly. And so I think that would actually be a good general introduction because it's modeled pretty much on FreeRTOS. So it'd be a good way to. Sure. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, I can only think of it for educational purposes, really. There's a couple of links here. The PyCon US videos are all up now, so you can go check all of the videos out. There are a couple to do with MicroPython, CircuitPython, and Master and Slave is being renamed Controller Peripheral. Is that right? No, it's coming. Yeah, because this is always going to be controversial, whichever thing you choose. So if you've got a strong opinion, the comment on it. That's if it's open for the long. I was assuming that everyone was going to have an opinion here, so you do have a no? No, don't care. Don't know why I have that. I'm done now. I think I am done.